Welcome back. In today's video we're going to get to install my intake. This is the CTS Turbo 3.5-inch aluminum intake that you can buy from multiple different stores. I happen to pick this one up from a company called West Tuned Performance. They're out of Boston. So if you guys are looking for any type of performance parts or any type of services from that company, I'll actually put a link below so that you can contact them or search their website and see if there's anything there that you might like. So first things first, we're going to open it up, unbox it, see what's inside, take a look at that stuff, and then we're going to install it. Awesome. Dang, that is a lot bigger than what's on the car currently. It's very nice. The reason I went with this kit too is because it's aluminum, it's not silicone, and it's supposed to be obviously a lot more durable if it's under load. And not only that, but the sound of this intake is really loud, and you're going to hear the Supercharger whine. So more so for the sound and the fun than the power. I think you might gain a little bit of horsepower, maybe like, it says 8 to 11 on a stock car, and who knows on a tuned car, but at least we're going to hear some noises coming out of the front. So we got our 3.5-inch aluminum inlet pipe, silicone connections. This is the velocity stack, an aluminum breather, screw holder. Okay, some hardware in there as well. That looks like the heat shield back here, which is also aluminum. Oh, cool. That is the breather. Nice. That'll look cool sitting in there. Yes, it's probably just part of the heat shield. Probably gonna have to connect that with the hardware that's in the box. Sweet. All right, we'll gather a list of tools and see what you're gonna need for the install. What you should need are a T25 Torx, a 7mm socket, an 8mm socket, a flathead screwdriver, and a 2.5 Allen key. All right, let's go. First, we're gonna disconnect the fuel return line. Then we're gonna disconnect the evap hose. Next, we're gonna loosen the clamp that's connecting the factory inlet hose to the throttle body. Then we're going to loosen the clamp connecting the inlet hose to the air box. Now we're going to disconnect the vacuum line on the throttle body side and disconnect the intake hose. Then unclip and pull out the factory air duct. Then you're going to remove the factory air box. Make sure to remove the breather hose that's located just on this side underneath the box. So you got to unclip it, then you can remove the air box. It's kind of like one of those medicine bottles that you open up where you have to squeeze both sides. I found it was easy to squeeze both sides and just kind of wiggle it back and forth, and it came right off. Now we're going to assemble the heat shield. My table was kind of dirty, so I just took some of the packing paper that was in the box and threw it over top. Now there are no instructions on how to put together the heat shield, but it seems pretty self-explanatory. First, I'm going to connect the two aluminum parts. You want this notch in the shield that's flat facing down. I'm going to do one in each corner, that way I can just have it in place, and then I'll slightly put them all in and then tighten them up after everything is set in place. So first I'm just going to finger tight everything. We'll get all the screws in the places they need to go and then go back through and tighten them up. Now this is just an air intake, so there's no need to really tighten these too much. This is where you're going to need your 7mm and your 2.5 Allen key. And I'm going to try to line the corners up first, get them relatively snug, and then I'll go through and tighten everything else. And same thing, trying to line up the bottom two sides so that it's flush. Now that I've got this corner done, it's flush, it's pretty tight, this corner's done, they're flush, and it's tight, I'm gonna go ahead and tighten up the middle too. And then lastly, just gonna check to make sure that they're all tightened about the same amount. Next, we're gonna take these seals. Now they are two different lengths. The shorter one is gonna go inside where this curve is. So we're gonna push that into place. Longer one goes on the top, and we're gonna set that in place. And then the rest of these basically just go around the edges on the left, bottom, and right side. Next is going to be the top. This one you're gonna have to cut, and you'll just cut it so that it fits on each part, leaving these gaps open. So what I'm gonna do first is test fit it. And I'm gonna cover it on this side with the bigger one. So I'm gonna test fit this here. And I've got these overkill aluminum shear like metal cutters that I'm gonna use. So it should be cake sauce. Next thing you gotta do is take these rubber grommets off the bottom of your factory airbox, and you're gonna reinstall them back into the holes inside the engine bay. And they should just pop right off. And those rubber grommets just go right inside those two holes. Next we're gonna remove the factory mount for the airbox. This is where that T25 comes into play. And then remove the mount. Now we're gonna install the aluminum mount, and you're gonna install this down. Next we're gonna put this billet reducer on the end of the breather hose. The reducer, the big side, is what goes down, and it'll go right over top of the breather hose, and it just clips right in. Next, you're just gonna loosen up the mount with the 2.5 Allen key, and then you're gonna slide the reducer up into it and tighten it up. Now we're going to install the breather filter. Now that the breather tube, the reducer, and the filter have been fitted, we're going to move on to the heat shield. All we're going to do here, we're going to push these little inserts into the rubber grommets that we installed earlier. Next, we're going to install the silicone piece into the throttle body side of the inlet tube. And the kit comes with 3 different size clamps. The smallest one's going to go on this silicone piece where it reduces down in size. It's a good idea to take a rag, a microfiber, or something and clean out these silicone pieces as well as the intake pipe, just to make sure that nothing's going in your engine that you don't want. After we make sure the clamp is pretty evenly spaced all the way around, we're going to put it onto the throttle body. Okay, now that we've got it cleaned up, let's install it. You'll notice that the hose has a little port on one end, the end that you're supposed to connect closest to the throttle body. It's going to be for the vacuum hose to connect to again. Before you install the hose, you're going to want to put your clamp over the silicone piece that you've already connected to the throttle body. Now that this is installed, this is nice and snug. We got it all set up. It's going through the heat shield here. We're going to install the filter. Next, we're going to install the velocity stack into the air filter. Pretty straightforward. Big side just goes down, you push it in. Make sure it's evenly set, and we'll tighten up the clamp. Next, this silicone piece is going to connect to our intake pipe and the filter. I would suggest just putting both of the fasteners on first, and then once they're pretty close to being snug, we'll slide each piece on and quickly tighten it up. Now time for the fun part. Okay, now that it's actually inside the engine bay and it's all pieced together, it looks really cool. Now we're going to reattach the vacuum line to the piece that was sticking out on the intake pipe. I'm gonna zip tie it just because I've seen these come undone quite often, so it's not like I'm gonna be in here re-disconnecting that hose, but if we do, we can just break the zip tie. They give you a vacuum hose, breather hose extension. So we're gonna go ahead and connect this to the back of the intake pipe, and we're gonna zip tie it, and then they have a fitting that goes in this and into the original vacuum hose. This right here is the fitting that's gonna go in one end of this, and then into the other end of the original vacuum hose. All right, the last thing we gotta do, they give you a couple of zip ties in the kit. We're gonna run them through that hole and this hole. And we're just gonna hold the fuel return line closer to the heat shield. They give you these little fasteners, and what they're for is you put them on the end of the heat shield that connects to where that air duct is. That way it can stay a little more secure and this isn't as wobbly. Okay, so I've sort of got these clamps on there. This is actually something, if I could go back and do it again, I would put these on the heat shield first. And I actually have this a little bit backwards. This should be in between these two. They're almost the same thing. They're just made out of plastic for the factory air box. Those alone aren't they don't secure the heat shield that much. That's why they include these clips, but it was just kind of hard to get those on, so I left them. But if I could go back, I would put these on first. I would kind of test fit it up here so you know where you're gonna put them, because there are a little bit of like a lip right here that's for something else. But if you slide those in between these two pieces and have these on, this thing's definitely not going anywhere. This thing's secure, the whole intake is secure, the heat shield's secure. So we're gonna call it a day and go take it for a test drive. Okay, great, now the time that I've been waiting for, because let's be real, only 3 of my friends watch this video. First things first though, I'll probably start it up and just do a couple revs. I'm pretty excited to hear how it sounds. Oh my god, we're gonna drive it. It's gonna be sweet. Oh man, I'm pumped. Oh my god, okay, I barely got under the throttle. I can already hear it. Oh, I'm gonna get into trouble now. Totally worth $280, 100%. Okay, my initial thoughts are, I don't feel like any immediate power differences by any means, and I didn't have an expectation to feel any immediate power differences, but I definitely don't feel any power difference. But the sound is definitely intoxicating, and it for sure makes you want to just put your foot into the pedal even more. Totally worth it. Oh, success, total success. Okay, overall I would say a complete success. That was really fun. I enjoyed installing it. The noises that it makes are absolutely awesome. I had a ton of fun doing it. I think it looks great. It sounds great. Well, that's gonna wrap up today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I have 3 more boxes of stuff to go into the car and some rotors and pads on the way, so get ready.